I just needed to turn it down more. Is it screechy for you?
Yeah, but I wonder, I have my headphones. I don't know if I put them away.
Well, I don't know. Give us some feedback. We're live on Facebook. We're live on Instagram. We're trying something new. We thought we would go live on Instagram and Facebook at the same time using our laptops and our phone. But if it's giving some like weird feedback, shoot me a comment and let me know, because we'll just turn off Instagram for now. This was us trying to be efficient. So, Stephen, let me know on Instagram. Are you getting some weird feedback or is it good? Stephen's going to let me know.
Okay.
Hey, it just shows we're innovating on the spot. So anyways, everybody, welcome on Facebook and YouTube and Instagram, everyone, wherever you're joining us from. Today, I brought in a very special guest, Miss Rachel Brown from San Antonio, Texas, with eXp Realty. And this is one of those stories of a really cool, we were friends online before we were ever friends in person. So it was really fun. Rachel, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Okay. Hi, I'm Rachel Brown. I live in San Antonio, Texas. I have 6 kids, ages 10, 8, 8, 7, 7, 4. 2 of those are biological, 4 are adopted through foster care. So we have been out of the system for actually right about the time I got my real estate license. So almost 4 years. And we're just making it work.
So this is why I say we were friends like in a virtual world before we were friends in person. We actually met in person at a conference last year. And when she told me that she was an adopted foster mom and that she had a large family, I was like, okay, she's my sister, right? Like I just know it.
So I guess you don't know that it's not like that much of a coincidence, because I like stood in line to ask Tom Ferry a question one time. And I was like, Tom, how do I balance, this whole world? Who's somebody I should talk to? And he gave me your name. So that's how I started following you on social media. So maybe I hadn't told you that part of the story.
That's funny. That is really funny. Leave it to Tom. If you come to Tom with like, I have a big family, he's going to send you to Christy Jenks for sure. But I haven't had someone like you on my show since since I've started doing these weekly interviews. And immediately you came to mind because you are a woman that is doing it all, right? Like you are still working full time. All your kids are still alive. At one point in time, I know that you had 6 kids under the age of 6 and your husband was working out of town.
It's true.
Yeah. So if anybody could come and talk to our audience and help reassure us that, what we're doing right now is hard, but you're going to make it, I know that it's you. I absolutely know that it's you.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, it's just that short phrase, like, we can do hard things, man, like we're already doing it. And there are so many opportunities in this. I know you've been chatting about that a lot with some of your other guests that I've seen on. There are ways that you really have to like embrace the suck.
Yes.
But truly there are things that are happening right now that are just a reset for our family, for me personally, even more than the whole family, but just giving me opportunities in ways that I wouldn't have had if this hadn't happened.
Tell us about that. When you say opportunities, what do you mean?
Just to go fewer places and to have more flexible time with the kids here without any outside influences. So because our kids are so close in age and just relatively young, we had not really let them do any activities up until this school year. So then this year we got involved in BMX racing on a regular basis. We had done it sporadically before. So we've got BMX racers, we've got our 4 daughters are in dance. And so that was 2 nights a week. BMX is like up to 3 or 4 times a week, depending on how you want to take it. So eliminating those things, eliminating some of the just like regular appointments that I felt like were really important, groups that I wanted to be a part of, and things that felt like big opportunities as far as like networking. I mean, those all went away immediately.
Okay.
And so we just don't have to be as many places. And we're doing things like, putting the kids in the meal plan schedule of the week, because all of a sudden, like, everyone's super interested in being the helper in the kitchen, which normally I wouldn't particularly tolerate. Like, okay, I've got to get this done. I've got to get it done in a certain amount of time because we have to get somewhere or whatever. And so that's one example of just a little bit of slowdown.
Okay. So you're using this to just, reprioritize. It's funny that you say that. I remember, so when we got 3 kids overnight, right? So we became, parents overnight, 3 kids. And I felt like we were doing fine with 3. Like, we were totally fine. Things were going. Then it became 4 and it was totally fine, totally fine. Then it became 5 and it was like, okay. You know what I mean? The 6th child is when we pulled everything. When we got to 6, and they were, I had 3 under the age of 2. So it was like triplets, very, very small age. We pulled from all of the events like that, right? Like, it really helped us prioritize and refocus on what was most important. And so I can relate to what you're saying with, like, something like this helps you realize, like, before this we were dance, gymnastics, basketball, we were getting ready to start football. It's fun for our kids, but it also adds a lot of stress, right? Like, there's just trying to get your kids to all these different locations and things like that. So,
and finding the gear for that many people.
What you guys don't know is that Rachel and I were texting about how hard it is to shop for a family as large as our families right now. The looks that you get in the grocery store, I almost want to wear a sign that says, like, I have 7 kids. I feed 15 people every single week. Like, please don't judge me. We legitimately go through 6 gallons of milk a week. But yeah, finding the gears right. So, well, I've prepared a couple questions for you because I do want our viewers to get some tips and some strategies from a mom, like I said, that's in the trenches, working and managing a large family. So, talk to me about routines. How have your guys' routines changed now that your kids are not going to school and you're working as much as you can, but it's in a much different capacity?
So I'm going to talk a little bit about my personal routine and then kind of like the family routine. And all of this is total work in progress. So what I thought was going to work last week, we found out on Sunday, Easter Sunday, when the homework all started, being due that evening. Like, we had not gotten done nearly what I thought we did. So this week has looked different. So anyway, work in progress. But my morning routine, I got really strict about my personal morning routine about 6 months ago. I realized a lot of things that I was doing were not serving my health and wellness, and that was interfering with my ability to show up as the mom I wanted to be like, and definitely like show up as the business person that I want to be like. So back about 6 months ago, I started going to bed earlier. I started getting up earlier. And so this is not like a unique thing, but I'll just like say what I do. So I like to get up around 5 and have my coffee, usually do some reading then, get some kind of workout in. I love to be like showered and dressed for the day by the time the kids start getting up, which now, like, with them not having to be up at a particular time, works fairly well. So, because they're up anyway, no later than 7:30. So, but that just helps me start the day out a lot nicer. Anything that's a kind of like creative flow kind of time. So anything that I just want to do, I know that my phone is not going to be ringing and no one's going to be asking me for anything. So it just really helps me start out the day with some mental clarity, which goes a long way for me into the day. If a kid wakes me up, like if I've slept in late enough that a kid is waking me up, I'm mad like the rest of the day.
I like how you put that. It just makes me nicer.
And okay, so that's kind of like my morning routine. Then once the kids are up, they are supposed to be dressed and have breakfast first thing, and they're all capable now of getting their own breakfast, or the little one will get someone to help her. And then this is kind of where we're still figuring it out. But the main thing right now is we don't have any screen time until after lunch. So, and that's like 1 o'clock. And what I've been doing with that, now if it's school, that's different, but still it has to be like legit school, because that's what we found out last week. They were doing a lot of things online that are part of their educational resources through school, but they weren't school work. So they have a lot of stuff that they can play they're not getting like credit for. So we've got to get the stuff that has to be turned in for a grade done first. So I'm also now kind of trying to chunk my days a little bit differently. So this week, like Tuesday, I did calls all day long. Like, so they got screens all day long. So I was like, we're not doing school today. I'm doing this. Now let me back up to Monday. I spent quite a bit of time on the phone with teachers on Monday going, this is not like this isn't working for this child, or how do I support this child? How do we adjust this for this kiddo? Like, and then I hear one of my kids on her Zoom call with her class asking for extra work. She's like, I'm like, nobody's gonna like you.
We are not doing anything extra.
Yeah. And I mean, bless her heart, she is doing, like, she's the one that has taken it upon herself to memorize all of the other kids' logins for everything. So like she's my IT department. And so that's been really great. But long story short, I thought that I was going to be able to like, okay, let me get you guys going on schoolwork, and then I'm going to sit over here and I'm going to do emails or something. It's not happening. So we're doing school more like in the evenings and weekends now. So more mom work during the day. Our weather, thank God, has been pretty nice. So they're getting a lot of outside time, just playing in the yard, riding their bikes. We don't have a lot of other kids on our street, so I feel okay with them going out to play because they're not interacting with anybody. So,
I mean, that sounds about similar. So we're kind of doing the same thing where I'll tell you. So we're going into our 4th week of homeschooling. So 4th week of homeschooling, and I will tell you that I put together a plan that I thought was like epic. It was so organized, so detailed, and my kids revolted. Like my 18-year-old down to the 5-year-old in preschool. It was not how it was. And just like you said, we improvised. What you experienced on Tuesday, that's my Thursday. On Thursdays, we don't really do schoolwork. It's because that's my heavy work day. And I have hard appointments, like video calls like this all day long. And so my expectations are very low. So we don't do a lot of schoolwork on Thursday. And they know that, and we've set that expectation. So I think, the most important thing coming out of what you were talking about in terms of the routine, have a plan, but just know you're going to iterate on that plan. It's not going to go exactly how you wrote it. But then I really like what you said about your morning routine and setting yourself up for the best environment possible and to be the best version of yourself. I joke with my kids that nice mom goes to bed at 8:30, right? Like, my goal is to be completely passed out by 9:30 because I wake up at 5. And so nice mom goes to bed early. If you come at me at like 8:45 with something, you're just going to get a big fat no. And then I'm probably going to be really angry. So knowing yourself, right? When you're managing, whether it's one child, 6 or 7, it doesn't matter. It's really important to know your triggers, your buttons, and what you need. And if your morning routine is important to set you up to be the nice mom, like, right, the patience that is needed because they're not leaving the house.
Right.
Yeah. And you guys got some news today that your kids aren't going back, correct?
Yes. Which I mean, I assumed that was the case. but I'm glad to just know finally, because it's like, okay, am I trying to like white knuckle it through the end of, like this? Because it was up until, I don't know, 2 weeks from now or something. Like, because for 2 weeks, I would have white knuckled it. For 6 weeks, I'm going to put some more structure into the plan. And I mean, we just, like, I don't think it's much of a secret. Like, we have some kids that are not quite on grade level. And it's extremely important to me that they don't fall any further behind, so that and that's one of the things that I feel like is an opportunity in this chaotic time, is for me to really know what's happening for them in their schoolwork. Because before, we have a fantastic school. Like, we're in one of the top elementary schools in our state. And I trust them so much that I was kind of like hands off. Like, you teachers, administrators, like, you do you, tell me what you need from me. But otherwise, like, we kind of let school stay at school, and we work on relationships and life skills and things like that at home. But so this has forced me to
just become more of an advocate. I look at it, right? Like, just like you said, some of our kids have individual education plans, and this is the time where I'm able to step up and advocate more.
Yeah.
Based on the fact that, one, that I'm their teacher, and I'm not a trained teacher, right? Like, that's not my profession. And I don't know all of these things. And so I like that you're right. It's time for us to advocate for our kids and really know, right? Like, it's funny you should say that. My 7th grader, I assumed that she knew her multiplication. That's not the case. Right? Like, we learned that in 3rd and 4th grade. I thought she still had it, but she didn't. And now that, we're sitting in this close environment and, doing this work one-on-one, I noticed that. Now, one thing that you mentioned in earlier to me was something that's really working for you guys is zones. Talk to me about these zones and how you guys are using them to have success at home.
So thankfully, this is something that we've had in place for, I want to say we started this around the beginning of the school year. And so I'll just kind of go down the line, because I'll go in age order because it makes sense. So 10-year-old zone is the kitchen. That girl can load a dishwasher like nobody's business. She makes me so proud, and it's an immense help. So her zone is kitchen. 8-year-old is laundry. So she doesn't have to fold all the laundry, but she keeps the washer and dryer rotating.
So critical.
Yeah, just like, it's got to be going. And then she's supposed to kind of keep the laundry room tidy. Next is floors. So that's another 8-year-old, but my younger 8-year-old. So just picking up the floors, enough to get the Roomba running. And then he, like, if the table needs to be swept after dinner or whatever, like, he's the primary person for that. Next is a 7-year-old, and she like wipes off the table after meals. And there's just a few other like surfaces, like, where kind of like the school junk gets piled, like, she kind of keeps that organized and then helps with floors. Also, next zone is another 7-year-old, and he tidies up the bathrooms. I don't know if your kids do this, but why are there clothes everywhere?
I thought you were going to say pee. Because there's pee and clothes everywhere.
That's why there's a boy on the bathroom now, because there used to be a girl on the bathroom, and I was like, wait a second. No.
I like it.
And then the boys also do trash duty. They take turns on that. And then the baby is 4, and she is in charge of the stairs. So she keeps because same deal. Like, there's just
stuff.
But
it's amazing how much stuff they can deposit around a house in like 30 minutes. I don't know where it all comes from.
I know. But it's also amazing because we have now reached this really sweet spot. Like, having a 4 at the bottom, like, your life is so easy. Like, we had babies for so long.
Yes.
That I'm like, dang, I can do so, like, it's amazing how fast we can get the house picked up. Also, if everyone is working together. And what I notice on that is, if I'm working, then they're working. If I'm like on housework, if I'm sitting down, even if I'm working, like talking to a client or doing something important in my email, doesn't count. If I'm on a screen, they're like goofing off.
They're on a screen. Okay.
Not necessarily a screen. They don't have like a ton of access to the screens, but they're like just disappearing, like one of them will be like halfway down the street on his bike, and I'm like, hey, you were supposed to be cleaning the bathroom. Like,
yep, we've got some sneaky ones like that too.
so,
Do the zones ever change? Is it like a rotation, or when you're on a zone, you're on the zone?
we've been on the same zones for quite a while now. What I love about this is that saying, if it's everybody's job, it's nobody's job. And so implementing the zones, now we still help each other. And it's like, we're not moving on to whatever the next fun thing is until all of the zones are done. So if you're done, like, find a buddy who could use some help. So there's some overlap in that. But for right now, like, because they're all pretty like age specific.
Yeah.
So we're not really on rotation, but we do some helping out. And it's, the other thing I like about it is it's like, hey, I just cleaned up that area. Don't, if you're doing your stairs zone, don't go dump your junk in the laundry room, because that's my zone and I just cleaned it up. And so that personal, or like interpersonal between the kids accountability, has taken some of the heat off me as well. So,
well, and hopefully they're, at some point you're like, they're going to realize that they're just picking up their own stuff over and over and over again. So you hope that they realize, like, hey, don't leave your junk in my zone because I just cleaned that up. And then and in turn, they don't leave their junk in another zone, right? Where someone else has to clean it up. So how are you coping with the age-old question, I'm bored? Hey, Mom, I'm bored.
Go outside. Like, that's my only.
Yeah, that's mine too. Go outside, because I think that's one of the things that I'm noticing right now is that we used to wake up at 6, have breakfast, and do all these things, and then go to school, and then they were gone until 3:30, right? And then they came home 3:30, and same thing. It was snack and homework and playtime, swim, until bedtime at 8:30, right? And now we're able to get school done a lot quicker because it's not, we don't have to replicate school from school at home. It's not a replication of what they do there, what we're doing here. You just naturally get done a lot quicker. And so trying to keep them from this constant boredom in, like, how much time is too much screen time, right? There are some days where I'm just like, oh my gosh, watch TV all day. Because I'm at mental capacity. Right. So I was curious, what are you guys doing? So you're playing outside. Is there anything else that you guys are doing to curb boredom?
We ordered like a pretty decent Crayola, art set. Just like I have a couple that, like, they could do art until their little fingers had blisters. We
got a couple like that too.
Yeah, and so that's really cool. I have a couple that are just obsessed about their bikes. And that's one of the beautiful things about having a large family, and also about having my kids so close in age, is they're all just really best friends, and they're their own little crew. And so they're really, honestly, like, I don't get I'm bored very much. So,
well, that is good, because we're still getting that. My first thing is I have a list of chores that they can do. If you're bored, I've got a list of 5 things that you could do. We're one of the things that we've implemented, and I learned this from one of my previous interviews, is we've implemented some structured free time. So when it is going to be a free time, we have a couple different options, right? Like, you can watch a movie, you can play on the Xbox, you can play a game, or you can jump on the trampoline, right? Like, those are 4 things that don't require mom's influence at all. Like, I want them to be independent. Because usually when it's structured free time, what I was doing was I was just literally like, go outside, just just go do something, because I wanted to get them off a screen, or I wanted to get them out of my hair for a minute, right? Like, I needed a break. And I realized once I gave them some options, they might not love all the options, but once I gave them some structure of where they could be, the illusion of choice, they would usually go find something, and usually find a buddy, right? Like, find another sibling, or find somebody else that could, or we have a pool and they want to go swimming. So I was like, okay, well, you got to find one of the big kids. If one of the little kids want to go swimming, you got to find a big kid buddy to go swimming with you, right? We've got to have that, we've got an 18-year-old, so she's more than capable of swimming with some kids and things like that. So that's good. What about, now that you are homeschooling the kids, Do you have any, tips and strategies for us who are, starting to figure out how to educate all of these kiddos?
Okay, so my secret hack is my husband got laid off because of this. So he is more available because he was working a ridiculous schedule anyways. He worked 12-hour days, 5 days a week. So like it's not really hurting.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So he has a real estate license, and so like we're fine. Like we'll be okay on that. So we divided the grades. So he took second and fourth grade, partially because of the communication style of the teachers. We just went with who we kind of meshed better with. And then, so I took first and third grade, and we're just like doing more focused work. So like I said, not trying to multitask, and just like, let's just get it done kind of thing. My first graders have a ton of like artsy things, like cut out a whatever and write about this, bunny and what he does on a perfect day. So that's a pretty hands-on project for two people that can't, like one of my first graders can't read at all. So there's just a lot. So that was just going back to the, beginning stages of foster care and like being overwhelmed and having all of these kids here all of the time. Like just lowering expectations. Like, oh, it would be great if I could be making dinner while knocking out 3 grades worth of homework. It's not going to happen. And it's certainly not going to happen with nice mommy. So.
Well, Rachel, I appreciate you sharing that about your husband because obviously, it's very real for your family, right? This virus has directly impacted your family. And so I just want to send you guys love and, good vibes because it's hard. That's really, really hard. In terms of homeschooling though, I really like your strategy. That's, if you are lucky enough to have a partner, right? Someone to help you. We're kind of doing the same thing. My husband has really taken on the math, right? So he's pretty much like third grade up. He's taken on all math with all of the ages because I don't like it. I'm learning to love it. I like playing math games with them, which we just sent you one. You guys, your family won, so it went out in the mail a couple days ago. You guys should be getting it soon, so I'll be excited to hear from you. But lowering expectations is absolutely critical. I don't need my child to get into MIT while I'm homeschooling them.
That's right.
I need to keep their brain engaged. So this is strictly I'm not a doctor, I'm not a teacher. So I just want to put that out there. But realistically, right now, our job is to just keep their brains engaged. This is the 4th quarter of school. What is the 4th quarter? It's all review, right? So we just have to maintain everything that they've learned from the beginning of the year to now. We have to maintain and keep their brains engaged, and we just want to make sure that we get through this and they don't say my mom is, mean teacher mom, right? Like we just want to maintain and engage. And what you said was focused work. I think that's probably one of the biggest misconceptions when I'm talking with moms and parents out there right now that are homeschooling is they think they have to recreate what school looked like, right? And you don't, right? When you have focused instruction, when you have focused time, one-on-one or even two-on-one, because just like your family, we have several kids in the same grade level, right, at this young age, and those skills are overlapping. So I'm able to take on 1 or 2 children, and we can talk about 2-digit subtraction and 2-digit addition, or writing the story about the bunny, and we can do that, and it goes much quicker because it is direct instruction and it is super focused. So what we're finding is we can get our schoolwork done when we're focused in a much shorter time. And I agree with you where we're being flexible around mom and dad's work schedule, in that if we're going to do, schoolwork at 3:00 in the afternoon, that's what we did yesterday because it was Thursday and my expectations are low, right? Like they have a lot of structured free time on Thursdays, but some people were a little bit behind. So Thursday evening, it was my elbow buddy and we hammered through some stuff. But keeping in good communication with the teachers, like you and your husband have done, that's really important, right? The routines that you're putting in place right now, like I said, we're into week 4, so our routines are almost there. I would say they're almost there, right? One of my kids jumped onto the Xbox first thing this morning. He's 10. He knows. He was just testing me, right? I came out there. I was like, dude, you're not showered. You don't have a shirt on, and you haven't eaten breakfast. I'm sure you didn't do any schoolwork. Should you be on the Xbox? No. And he's batting his eyes, and I'm like, okay, let's, you know what I mean? Let's get to your checklist. He has a checklist. He knows what he's supposed to do in his morning routine. And so, they're going to test us, but at the end of the day, you guys are right in alignment with, what's going to help your family move forward, and just keeping these kids moving forward. Like you said, we don't want them to fall behind, but I don't need them to gain 3 grade levels over this time. I just need to keep them engaged. So real quick, let's talk about the San Antonio housing market. What's going on? I mean, you're a full-time realtor, husband has a real estate license. What's going on in Texas? What does the market look like?
So we're hanging in there. I think the last number I saw is that we're reflecting what kind of our like holiday season tends to look like. So
okay.
So we're not in line. We're about 20% lower as far as like just number of houses coming available and everything than a typical mid-April. But it is kind of reflecting like our more like over the holiday market when things slow down a little bit. And so what that tells me is that it's the same thing we see during the holidays. Like the people that are able to hold off probably are holding off a little bit on moving. But there are still people that need to move. And so the houses that go active are getting snatched up pretty quickly.
Yeah.
I've, been losing out on deals, like putting in offers and having multiple bids. And so, got a new listing, got a new land contract, have a buyer under contract since all of this happened. So yeah, it's there. We are shelter at home, but we are also like essential business. So we're just taking extra precautions, of course, with like health and safety. Just prioritizing health and making things happen. Of course, all of the creativity, it was always important to me to be able to work pretty virtually because I've had this large family since I've been an agent. So, like being able to utilize Zoom or utilize DocuSign, all of those things are not new for me. So that feels good to have that continuity of business. I don't love working from home constantly. Like even though I've not had an office, I still like really loved going and working in a coffee shop. I love just that noise and just people. I like to be around people. So I do miss that, but it's not a business disruption. And now I don't have, I don't have a specific pickup time. I have to be somewhere. So my appointment times are more flexible than they were before. So there's a lot that's allowing us to keep going. And my husband got a new lead today and they're coming in from Virginia. They weren't supposed to move until the beginning of the school year, but their school's canceled. And so they're like, well, guess we'll go now. So they're coming in, I think this weekend. So,
okay. So business is moving forward. Like you said, safety first, right? So, utilizing technology, I know that's something that you're good at, utilizing technology, safe showings, virtual listing appointments. But at the end of the day, for the people that still need to buy and sell out there, it's still happening in San Antonio and you guys are helping them, correct?
That's right.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you so much, Rachel, I put your Instagram and your Facebook here down below. I really appreciate you joining us. If you guys want to connect with another amazing mom, definitely follow her. She's funny and she is smart as can be. Lots of great tips on her real estate page. So make sure you follow her. And I really appreciate you joining us today.
Yeah, thanks for the invitation, Christy. Talk to you soon.
Thanks. Okay.
Oh, are you still there?
Well, I ended. Oh, end. and broadcast.